compost, yeah. It's ready now to sow some seed. So what we sow? Here we go, we've got tomato here, so we'll sow some tomato seed. You open up your packet, inside there is a nice little foil, and if ever you do have a problem, keep hold of that foil, because that's the bit that's important. Because on that foil, it's got your name, the name of the variety, and it's got a lot number. And that lot number, if ever you had a problem and you rang me up and said, I've got a packet of tomato Shirley, and lot number 90144 didn't grow properly, I can look that up and I can tell you the germination it was when we tested it in the lab. Yeah? I ain't to say problems do happen. Occasionally seeds can drop off in germination, it's very rare. But that's the important bit, because what most people do, they sow this, throw that away and keep the packet. Well, that's no good because they ain't got no information on it apart from how to sow it. The important bit's on that foil. Every batch of seed that comes in is given its own lot number, so we get full traceability of all that seed. So you take your pot and you sow your seeds over the compost, like so. Yeah? You would then label that with the name, and then years ago we'd have all used a sieve and we'd have sieved some compost over the top. We don't do that nowadays. There's two reasons. One, a lot of people couldn't judge how much they were putting on top and they'd bury the seeds. And two, I'm sure some of you have done that, and when you've sown the seeds and they come up with a lovely little layer of compost all on top of the seed leaves where they're pushing it up. So what we do now, we use a product called vermiculite. Very good seed company sells that. Yeah, we sell fine grade vermiculite, ideal for seed sowing, but a lot of allotment shops and everything else sell it as well. Just an easy product to use. So fine grade, and all you do, you cover the pot just so the seed is covered. Yeah? Simple as that.
Sorry, what does that do?
What does it do?
Yeah.
So you need to cover the seed,
Yeah.
but rather than cover it with compost, where the compost sometimes you can sow too thick or it doesn't let any light through at all, this is easy to use and it lets a certain amount of light through and it will help it. Yes, madam?
What's it made from?
Volcanic rock.
It's environmentally friendly.
Volcanic rock.
Oh, right. Environmentally friendly.
Yeah. As long as we have some volcanoes, as long as they don't do some of this, that's what it's made from, volcanic rock. Yeah.
What's it called again?
Vermiculite. Yeah. Yeah.
How many seeds would you, because you were tapping this.
Depends how good you are at pricking out, man. You could easily say 50 in there.
Wow.
Really?
So
Yeah.
you did the whole packet and then...
Why would you want to?
There's only 20 in the packet.
Why would you want 50 tomatoes?
No, but there was only 20 in the packet.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but if I wanted to reduce the amount of seeds in the packet of Alicante from 50 down to 20, I can guarantee you'd all ring up and moan. So we don't, we keep it at 50 because it's been like it for years. But no, you're right, why would you want 50 tomato plants? But most of the newer hybrid varieties, you're probably getting 10, 15, 20 in a packet. You can easily say that in a pot. Yeah? But that's about 50 seeds in a packet in there. It does, it all depends how good you are at pricking out how thick you sow it. So, you know, don't go mad with it.
It can still be okay. You can still wouldn't.
No, because at the end of the day, you're not leaving them in there. You're taking them out and popping them on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would take, so then you would take that, once you've sown it, and you would put it in your propagator. I mean, you can use something like this, which is a little, what we call a windowsill propagator. And you can get 7 of these trays, but you could put your own pots on it with a little lid on, and you'd get double the amount of that on there. So that would be kept at, if you're sowing tomatoes, that needs to be a minimum temperature of 21 degrees C, germinate. Constant. Hence you want a heated propagator, or if you haven't got a heated propagator, you've got a nice warm windowsill indoors, but remember don't shut the curtains and keep them cold at night, because you're not keeping a constant temperature. So if you want to sow something like tomatoes, then you need that warm. I had a chat, sorry?
That light.
Light windowsill, ideally. Yeah, yeah, that's the ideal thing. That Sutton's ringing up, that's not, I'm not here. Alright?
Apologies, I thought I turned it off.
That's alright, no problem. So you keep that in the propagator, should germinate within around 10, 14 days with a tomato plant. And then it'll be ready for pricking out. If you're sowing smaller seeds, things like, if you're sowing things like lobelia for argument's sake, if you're sowing flower seeds, I'm sure some of you grow flowers, you can sow those into pots or trays. I bought some lobelia here, I'm sure I did. There it is. So lobelia seed, I don't know if any of you know, is a bit like dust. Yeah? You get around 30,000 seeds to the ground. So, you know, when you're asked on the chase how many seeds do you get to the ground with lobelia, you now know it's about 30,000. So with that, if you were sowing that, obviously you wouldn't sow all of that in one pot, because you wouldn't prick it out. Because particularly as I think we put in about 200 seeds in here, if not more. A tip when you're sowing something that's very, very small like this is you take some dry silver sand and you put a pinch of it in the packet, shake it up. And the reason you do that is because when you're sowing it, because the seed is dark, you wouldn't see it, but you will see the grains of sand as they drop onto the compost, so you can still sow it nice and evenly. And with seeds like that, you wouldn't cover it. So you don't use any vermiculite, it needs light to germinate. The best example of that is, if ever you drive through the countryside, one year you see a field full of poppies, the next year you don't see a field full of poppies in the same field. It's because poppy seeds needs light to germinate. That's when it's turned up onto the surface, it grows. So if you covered it, it won't grow. So with something very, very fine like lobelia, or petunias even, they don't need covering at all. So you need light to germinate. So that's a little tip for that sort of thing. There is a general rule with seeds. If you sow it and you can see it, cover it. If you can't see it, don't cover.